December 9th, 2025. Let's see how many times this strategy came into effect today. The 30-minute extended chart, what gives us our bias. This is what it looks like right before the market opens. This is the momentum in the MACD right before the market opens. And so we got a little bit of a downward bias. And we take a look at our 2-hour chart. Right before the market opens, we have a still a downward bias, so we're thinking about the downside, and we're looking for downward opportunities as the market is about to open. And then the market opens, and look what happens. We start to get a bunch of movement to the upside. So the very first step we look for is we want to align the 5-minute momentum with the 30-minute momentum. Because if the 2-minute momentum, or 1 minute, depending on who you are, what you prefer, I like the 2-minute most days. If we can align the momentum of the 2-minute time frame with the momentum of the 5-minute, with the momentum of the 30-minute, if we have that alignment, our probability of knowing where the next 1 to 5 candles is going to go is a very high probability. We have a high probability of knowing that. So let's see if we can find an example here. The market opens and we look at our 5-minute next because we want to align these. And what do we see? As the market is about to open, we have opposite forces. The 5-minute regular is going up. It's got upward momentum. The 5-minute extended has got a lot of downward momentum. So these start to align to the upside right here. This crosses to the upside right here. See this green bar right here on the 5-minute? Let's put the time signature there. Okay, so now this is right now in this present time we're talking about. And we're now both aligned to the upside. So remember what I said. This is our bias. We're looking for downward opportunities until this 30-minute experiences a crossover, which is going to happen soon. But for now, in this point in time, we are not taking trades because the 5-minute is not aligned with the 30-minute. So we fast forward in time until we get a crossover on the 30-minute chart because we don't get any opportunities. The 5-minute data is not giving us any opportunities to the downside. It's only giving us signs to the upside. So we wait until the crossover occurs, which is right here. Now the crossover has occurred on the 30-minute chart. So now we're waiting for the 5-minute data to align back to the upside. And then we want to have a volume confluence alignment with our 2-minute chart. So let's see if that happens. Let's see if we can find where that happens. 30-minute crossover just occurred. We're in the green on the 5 minutes. That's good. Everything's aligned. Do we have a volume confluence on the 2-minute chart now at this current point in time right here where this has occurred, where this is right now? No, look, no volume confluence is down here until right here, until this moment. So if we go to this candle here, we have a volume confluence, but look at the MACD histogram. The MACD histogram is not going up, it's going down. We're thinking up, we're aligned up, MACD histogram is down. You can take this trade and try to target a small profit, like a 2-to-1 ratio, in which case you actually would have won. You actually would have won a 1-to-1 here because look, your entry would be here at the close of the candle. You put your stop loss below that candle, and then you would target a 1-to-1 normally, and that almost hit right here on that very next candle, and it would have hit down here on this candle here if your stop loss didn't get triggered here. But that's not an official. You could say it's official because we did have a little green pop up here. So yes, technically this is the strategy coming into effect, but not really. Look at the 5-minute data. The 5-minute data is weak. It's not expanding upward. It's kind of tapering. So it's a weak setup. Yes, it would have resulted in money being made as profit, but it's not ideal because of this. It's not ideal because of this right here. Anyway, we move forward to see if we can see a real opportunity where the 5-minute MACD is actually expanding in the direction of our bias. That happens right here. You can see it. See? Look, something happens here. Okay, now we're crossing over to the upside. The crossover has now finished. So now we have confirmation. We do have upward momentum on the 5-minute time frame. Now we look to see if we get a volume confluence on the right side of the MACD histogram. Look what happened right here, but right before this point. Look, we have a volume bar that's greater than the previous 3. We're on the right side of the 2-minute. The crossover hasn't finished yet, so that's risky. That's not the official confirmation. So you could take this trade and get a great profit from it, yes, because you're jumping ahead a little bit, using a little bit of discretion. But if you want to follow the legitimate strategy, the real rules, we have to wait for that crossover to finish. That's a part of our confirmation. And that happens right here, this very next candle. So now we have the crossover. We're on the right side of the 2-minute V. We just experienced a lot of volume confluence. But we don't have a volume confluence on this bar. That doesn't happen until right here. We get a volume confluence here. We're on the right side of this V now. We're popping up. So we would enter the trade at the close of the candle. We would put our stop loss below this candle somewhere. We would target a 1-to-1, and this is a loss. This does not hit. This is the official first occurrence of the strategy today. All of those other entries that I just discussed, those were not official because they used some sort of discretion and they were jumping the gun. They were entering early, which is a little bit higher risk. And they both resulted in wins. They did, but they weren't official. So this is the actual official entry. It ended up being a loss. So far, one occurrence and one loss. Now we go forward and we see if we get another momentum pulse to the upside. And we do get small ones here, but they're not green. They're not green and expanding in the direction of our bias. So we actually don't get another opportunity for the rest of the day. Look, the only other time it crosses green is here, later in the day, right here. And had you entered right on that crossover early, you'd be, yes, that would be a win, but that's not the official strategy. The official strategy would have entered right here. I put the stop loss slightly below this candle, targeted a 1-to-1. It also would have been a loss. So far, the strategy only came into effect twice today. Both of them being losses. Now, I've been tracking this strategy for many days, and it's all documented on YouTube. This is the first day that we've had all losses. Only 2 occurrences, all losses. Pretty interesting. That's numbers, that's mathematics for you. It's bound to happen eventually. Now we're going to look at something else, which is a different strategy I am developing and using, which really focuses on the 15-minute and the 2-minute, or the 1-minute, depending on which you prefer. I like the 2-minute most of the time. And it does the same thing with the 15-minute chart. So we want to see a crossover on the 15-minute to get the green light to take the trade. So look what happens right here. We get a crossover to the red side right here, see? This means we can now look for opportunities to the downside with the same rules. So we zoom in. Do we get an opportunity? Do we get a moment where the momentum is aligned on the 2-minute chart and we get a volume confluence? Let's see. Right when the crossover finished, the 15-minute crossover finished, right before it finished, if you would have entered here, you're on the right side of the V, you're getting good strong volume confluences. This is before the finish of the crossover. So if you were to enter early on these, you would make a good profit. You would have won. That would have been a win. Or if you would have waited for the actual crossover to conclude, this is a power volume bar. We're on the right side of the momentum. You would have entered here, and it would have been a loss. Interesting. Let's see what the 1-minute chart looks like on that time. See how the 1-minute chart can give you a slightly different entry? We have a power volume bar right here. We just popped to the downside of the momentum. So the 1-minute chart can give you entries that the 2-minute chart will not give you. Nonetheless, this strategy was also a loss. This would have resulted in a loss right here. So then we look at the first arrival of this strategy, which is right here. We get a crossover to the upside. Right here on this vertical line where I've got this arrow. And this was one of the trades I took today, and this was a huge win. You can see right here, because we're trading to the upside, right? So if this concludes and we look for a volume confluence on the right side of the V from this point forward, we're about to get a crossover on the 15-minute chart. Bear with me here, one moment. There we go. So here we are. We just had a crossover. Now we're looking for the next entry trigger, unless you wanted to enter early. If you wanted to enter early, like for example on this blue arrow, your stop loss would have been down here, your entry point would have been here, You would have targeted a 1-to-1, it would have been a win, and your runners would have gone to make a lot of extra money. Or you could have waited for the safer entry, which I waited for by this yellow line. This was my entry here. So look what happens right here. We get a pop-up on the histogram. We get a power volume bar. We enter the trade with a 1-to-1. Entry is here. Stop loss is slightly below this candle. Target a 1-to-1, and that was a win. So far, technically, you know, this particular 15-minute strategy is 1 loss and 1 win. And then the main strategy is 2 losses. So today was just a losing day. And that's crazy. I mean, that is crazy how that works sometimes. Anyway, take care now.